So, hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another segment of our business and tech talks discussions. I'm the host, the tour guide. It is November 23rd, 2022. At any point in time you're consuming this content, I can only hope you're doing well. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and I apologize in advance if I wasted. Hopefully I won't. So, a few weeks ago, I brought up briefly the issues of racism. It was the Indigenous Day / Christopher Columbus Day, and I didn't want to talk about it at that point, so I said fast forward. I'm going to talk about the issues of colonization later on. So the month of November has been reserved for Indigenous Heritage Month, Native American Pride Month, however you want to poise it. It's been a long time debate whether or not people should celebrate Thanksgiving, the history of Thanksgiving, and all of that. So I wanted to just kind of touch on this briefly and not go into too much detail because so many varying opinions, and the ultimate conclusion I have, usually, generally speaking, and it may seem like a cop-out to some people, but essentially we need to always find the delicate balance in everything. And this is very difficult because there's a lot of history and pain that has been attributed to this particular celebration. So last year I did a live stream and I talked about essentially why it is that we celebrate these holidays. Where is your heart coming from? Is it the history? Is it the Christian perspective of being thankful to God for all the blessings? Is it because, this is America, we celebrate, it's on the calendar, and that's what we do? There's a lot of history and origins behind a lot of this. So, like I said, I'm just going to stay on the surface and say we need to find the delicate balance. So, with that being said, one of the reasons why I do want to bring this issue up is it goes back to health and nutrition and comparing and contrasting what we have been seeing in Western civilization, especially in the medical industry, versus the history of mankind prior to the advent of our hospitals and the sanitation and the procedures and the surgeries and all of that stuff. So, and also as we've studied drugs in the making of the modern world, we've also discussed the issues of pharmaceutical drugs in the industry, a lot of them coming from European nations, and the effects it's had on society, the negative ramifications. There were some things that were already natural, like tobacco was something that was already consumed, but then you have other things that were manufactured in labs and introduced to the populace. And in modern day society, especially on a lot of areas that were reserved for indigenous people, they're experiencing a lot of addictions and problems. So that's kind of why I want to touch on this, and again, finding the delicate balance, because we could spend hours talking about each particular subject in its entirety and pretty much come to the same conclusion. It's this person's fault, this is where I'm like, okay, well, I'm just grateful to God that we have what we have today, and that's why I'm like, let's focus on just legitimately being thankful for your family if you have them, for your health if you have that, for the shelter if you have that, for the hot water if you have that, if you have breath in your lungs and a reason to smile if you have that. Find something to be thankful for. So one thing that I will touch on is I'm also a huge advocate for, we need to celebrate Thanksgiving a little bit more than once a year. I don't understand why we have one holiday set aside for it, and then the next day immediately after everyone rushes off to go shopping. I just find that really ironic. I understand what the purpose is and why people do it, and I'm not trying to make light or make fun of anyone, but I'm just like, what happened to like family, like doing this all the time? And that's why I really do appreciate a lot of the cultures and heritages where it's always about family. It's always about, you go to someone's house and the grandmother or the mother or whomever is they have got something on the stove, beans and rice and the Filipino moms, and they always ask you if you're hungry, do you want to eat something? And for moms who are working, single moms, working moms, when they come home, it's stressful, it's difficult. So I've always been a big proponent of cooking food for families and sharing the meals. Family members shared back in the day. You would have three married couples, three or four, and they would rotate whose house they would have dinner at throughout the week. One person who's ever hosting it would make the main course. One person would bring a side, one person would bring a dessert, so it was a little bit more affordable, and you wouldn't have to spend so much time, energy, and effort cooking meals. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent on celebrating Thanksgiving throughout the year, not just one day. But going back to the delicate issue of finding the balance. So recently I made a quick trip to the emergency room. It wasn't really an emergency. I had spent several hours debating whether or not I wanted to even go in because I knew that there were other things I needed to take care of, and I wasn't sure how immediate the situation was. But something propelled me to go anyways. I had symptoms that, to me, I wasn't familiar with, and obviously I'm talking to the doctors in there, and they're telling me, one of the doctors, he's pretty much just politely trying to tell me what the reason of the emergency room is for. And I'm like, yeah, I know what the reason of the emergency room is. That I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel that it was an emergency or something that needed to be checked out. So, long story short, I'm fine. But the thing is, like, I wasn't sure. I didn't know. That's why I'm coming to you guys, because you guys are the experts. With that being said, in addition to that, as being experts, I've had C-sections. There are instances where obviously I needed the medical attention of doctors. I've had sprained ankles, I've had a broken leg, I've had stitches, so obviously I believe in doctors in Western medicine. I've also been discovering, though, that with our quest for perfecting and fine-tuning and being constantly obsessed with invasive surgeries or invasive strategies, that I think, again, with finding the balance, we've discovered in more recent times that there's a reason why so many people survived and lived as long as they have been, or how our species has been able to survive this long. There's so much medicine and natural remedies within nature. And this is why, going back to the indigenous culture, the Native Americans, the Africans, the whomever, the people who live off the land, like, obviously they knew something that we don't today. The amount of preventative medicine, and you wouldn't even need to call it medicine, it's just what they consumed and what they knew worked for what purposes. Simple things, the benefits of garlic, benefits of onions, the benefits of chlorophyll coming from leafy green vegetables. I recently reposted a video presentation, and this woman has written this book, Natural... Okay, let me get the exact title just before I butcher it. Okay. Let me move to the side. Natural Plant-Based Healing. So it's a book that she wrote, a book of herbal remedies, and she's compiled about 28 years, almost 30 years worth of research and study into herbs, plants, and roots, things naturally found that can help reverse different diseases. I talk about natural cures I don't want you to know about. I talk about the Juice Ladies Living Foods Revolution, as well as Dead Doctors Don't Lie. So obviously the people who lived off the land knew a lot more about certain things that we don't, or we're not aware of today in modern society. And I think when it comes time for the colonization and other people coming in and pretty much dictating how one should live, how you should live, where you should live, how you should dress. Again, it's very difficult to get on this subject without causing great offense. Because me being a Christian and understanding Christian values and principles, and not understanding the different religions of another faith group, but understanding that there's lots of pros to their culture and to their lifestyle and form of practice. Finding, again, the balance between the two of them. It's one of those things where, dare I say, change is inevitable. There's been pros, like we have modern technology because of the advancement through technology that originated in countries that also had advanced technology that would enslave people as well. So we have to kind of just take it for what it is. If we spend too much time living in the past, it'll completely consume us, and a lot of the anger and rage is justifiable and understood. So as much as I could easily sit here and say, it started from this, or if you guys weren't this way, or if you guys didn't practice this, or you guys respected and honored this, we're at the crossroads right now, and I keep saying it. I don't like being the one to say it, but it sounds corny and cliche, but we really need to find the peace, and I'm praying that that's the direction that the nation is heading in, because ultimately it boils down to good versus evil. And if we can find the delicate balance, I'm trying to slowly transition the expression, living off the grid. Essentially, it's not being reliant on the technology, not to be reliant on doctors for everything, to sit here and say, hey, you know what? I trust that God will provide. I trust that I put a seed in the ground, something will sprout and grow, and then I have food. Things like that, going back to the basics. Simply taking only what you need. Recycling, reusing everything. Like the expression, taking care of the earth, Mother Nature. It's very important that we be good stewards of God's creation. The overconsumption, materialism, superficiality, waste, pollution, that's not what God intended for this creation. It's not what we were supposed to be doing, causing harm and destruction not only to ourselves but to the nature that's supposed to be providing for us. This is where it's like, who do we point the finger at? Who's responsible? Who's to blame? Where does it start from? Where does it end? So we just kind of have to make a decision and say, hey, you know what? I choose peace. I choose to be neutral. I choose to respect God, country, land, my fellow brother, and choose that, and to be thankful every single day, and to be thankful for the blessings that I have, or my health. And I'm grateful for the doctors to put my mind at ease, because I had never experienced heart palpitations before ever in my life, never experienced numbness in my fingers for a week on and off. I'm pretty sure I figured out what the cause of the problems are. I think I've resolved them, but definitely appreciate them taking time and attention to address my concerns. And I hope people will also continue to investigate in how they can help improve their health. And these are why I have the discussions and why we're coming out here with the information, so we can find a delicate balance, because there's times where you're going to need a doctor, obviously. They're there to help you, to save your life. But I also strongly feel that we don't need to always go to the doctor. There's things that we can do at home before there's an emergency. And especially as far as with heritage and people's history and their family origins and their traditions and what they already know, I definitely feel very led to going back to tradition. We need to go back to family, go back to heritage, and learn what our ancestors already knew. Preserve that and use it today as a foundation for what we stand for and what we want our future to stand for. So with that, I will leave you to consider these things. If anyone wants to go into more detail with any of these talking points, I'm absolutely open and would love the opportunity to discuss this more. There's so much that could be said on all subjects, but that's all I got today. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts and let you guys know that thank you. The title I have put on there is also Thanks, Forgiving, play on words, for the forgiveness. A lot of people have extended a lot of forgiveness to myself and vice versa, and I'm also very grateful and thankful for that. So I do mean it truly, genuinely, with all my heart. I'm very thankful. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate any person who's tuned in, and as always, thank you and God's peace.